Hi, my name is Carter Razink, and today I'm going to show you how to build a proof of attendance protocol styled blockchain app using the DropChain SDK. Basically, is an app that allows anyone to claim an NFT or a token. You see here within this presentation, you see here within this slide, we have a QR code. We create a QR code pointing to this web app, and then once you scan this, you land on this page that allows you to claim an NFT. Here's what you don't need. You don't need any smart contract or blockchain experience. You don't need any gas, and you don't need a wallet. DropChain handles all of that for you. Here's what you will need. You will need a free DropChain account linked below or at dropchain.network. For this specific tutorial, you're going to need some comfort with code. However, we have full 100% no-code guides as well. So click the link below on the DropChain channel and check those out. You will need the DropChain JavaScript SDK, which I'll show you how to install, and a JavaScript environment. I'm using Next.js with a Node.js background. I'll show you how to set those up on a high level. And as an overview, this is mainly geared towards people who have already kind of dabbled with DropChain before. And this is a fully launched setup on the DropChain network, which is the DropChain Layer 1 blockchain built to onboard anyone into blockchain and into Web3. So first things first, go to console.dropchain.network and you can see /login if you don't have an account. Sign in with Google, and then go to your API dashboard. This is on the left. Once you log in, you'll go through some onboarding, and you'll see all the information you need here to get started. So the first thing, and we'll come back to this, we're going to create an API key, and these are your test accounts. You're also going to generate a session token, and you'll be able to see here, this is the process. You'll click through this button, and then it'll allow you to generate a session token. Keep these things safe, but for now, just want to kind of give you the overview. You also have a connection to your DropChain single sign-on page, which is what allows anyone to sign into your DropChain app, your blockchain app, using Google, Facebook, or Apple. So you don't have to worry about your end users having a MetaMask account. It's super simple. And then with this, if they don't have a wallet, we generate one for them automatically for you. They don't need to worry about gas because we make sure that they have gas covered. Basically, everything you need to onboard someone into blockchain, covered for them 100%. First of all, we're going to mint an asset that we want to give our end users to, or want to give to our end users to earn, right? I'd recommend getting comfortable with everything I'm going to go through on the test network. We have a flow of doing minting. We actually have a DropChain API quick start, which I strongly recommend before getting into the weeds on exactly how this works. And this goes through the exact flow of creating an API key, getting your test account information, going through the process of using Python or JavaScript or whatever you feel comfortable with to issue a transaction, or you can use our DropChain API Postman guide, which is set up here. And so what you do is you would fill out your authorization section with your API key. You can save this setup and you include all your information here. And then you hit send. This isn't going to work because I have a live app, but for you it would if you really did all of these things set up for your own use case. And so again, session token doesn't exist because I'm a live app. I require that. But we'll get into that a little bit. And if you are technical, you can actually use the Python software development kit or the JavaScript software development kit. We offer both. In this example, we're going to be using the JavaScript SDK. So you can see here, 2 lines of code. It's the exact same on the JavaScript one. You import the package and then you instantiate the DropChain SDK with your API key and your app ID. And then after that, you could do something like asset mint to the testnet to create your first NFTs. So our actual POAP app is set up in a couple ways. We first have a front end, which is everything we see here. And then we also have a backend section. So if we go to the code, you can see make this condensed a little bit. We have a couple components. First, you have the DropChain POAP app. I've created this. This is the package that I'm actually building within the next.js package. We also have, so this is the front end, everything you see here. Our pages is where the pages live. So if we were to click this, click this one, this page, MN Blockchain Holiday-2023, or to go back to this, you can see MN Blockchain Holiday 2023. This is a promotion we built for the Minnesota Blockchain nonprofit, and we gave out, I think, like 15 or 20 NFTs to people who clicked the claim NFT button. And so in this case, what we've done is we have pointed it to the login / this is your app ID. And if we go back here to the NFT claim, this is the same link, so that once you click this, you log in to the DropChain app that you have built. So that's the high level overview on the front end, and we'll go into detail here in a moment. But on the back end, this section is where you're going to install the DropChain SDK. And because this tutorial is more focused on how to actually use the DropChain SDK, I'm going to kind of gloss over some of the technical web app pieces. If you want help building a Web3 app across both the blockchain side, which is what DropChain handles, as well as the regular Web3 app pieces, I would love to help you out. So click the link below and join the Discord and ask a question. I'm always living in there. We have other people building and willing to help. And ask a question in the general channel, and I will help you build your first web app or your first Web3 app. Just let me know. So within our front end, we are using something called DevLink from Webflow within Next.js. I am a huge fan of DevLink and a huge fan of Webflow. And if you haven't heard of it before, basically someone who is not technical could go in and build a full website, and then you can create components that you can import back into the front end. And so that's what we've done here. But before we get started, what I would recommend doing is installing, if you don't already have this done, a node.js project, which creates all of the files, or most of the files you see here, with something like npx create next app at latest, which is the version, and then your project name you will replace with whatever project you want to call it. Right now we have DropChain-POAP-app. And so once you run that, it will ask you a series of questions. You can just spam enter if you don't want to answer them, because most of the defaults work for 90% of the things that people want to build. And within this, the majority of your work is going to be within the pages section. So I first have these two main pages that we're going to go over, and then we'll eventually in another video show you how to build your own wallet and show how to grab just the assets someone owns from you. Maybe you want to show just the NFTs that you've given them. And so for the first page, we have created a landing page. And so the front end configuration is within this claim NFT wrapper component. And this is what someone lands on when they scan your QR code. So they will come to here. This is the first page they see. If they click claim NFT, if we go back to that code, we'll send them to the login section. And I'll just do it just to show you. Click it, and we are sent to the DropChain NFT claim, which is the app. We go to the project name. This is my app. I've configured this to point to you can click and view on the API console, your SSO page. So this is where you get that link. And I would say before you get into the nitty gritty of the actual SSO page, you can configure this information by configuring your SSO page here. So you would select your app name, select your redirect URL. So after someone signs in, where do they go? Which is this next part I'm about to show you. And then the app description in case someone wants to learn more. After someone logs in to your app, I've created a new page called MN Blockchain Holiday-2023-success. And the success page is going to run a few pieces that are crucial to actually giving an NFT to someone who signs up. First, after someone signs into your app, they're redirected into the page that you specify. This is that page. So I will show you this full flow after I'm done doing this. But basically, it's a say, hey, thanks for claiming an NFT. They are also redirected with a session token parameter within the URL. And so what this means is something like, if I were to go here, I would go back to this, to the POAP, let's just say it, I didn't log in. They're redirected with something called a session token parameter. If you don't know what that is, it basically is a variable that is defined by DropChain, by the redirect, that you can grab and utilize to log in your user into your Web3 app. And so in this case, your session token is ST, and then it has, a bunch of characters here. I think it's like, a series of randomly generated characters, alphanumeric, so letters and numbers. And so that's specified in here, and we first need to grab that. And so we've grabbed the session token by doing a URL search param, and we get the ST per session token. We do some logic to check that that session token is available. And then we create a payload that we're going to send to the backend. And so for context with this session token, when you get a session token, you have about 15 seconds to redeem the session token as valid once the user is redirected. So the first thing you should do when someone signs into your app is do something called redeeming the session token. Something that on a high level is good practice to have. At the top, I am importing everything from this API folder or API file. We have api.js, and what we have when we deploy our front end and our back end is a back end app, essentially, back end server. This backend URL is defined within my .end.local. And so example of this would look like, this is equal to www.google.com, if that's my actual backend URL. So this, you define this session or this environment variable, which is good practice for things like a backend URL. Within your local environment file, and then you grab that URL from here. And so we've just grabbed that here, and then for each of these use cases, in case there are request routes, we're going to call them the redeem session token route. And so we have this backend URL, we're sending it to our backend server, and then the redeem session token is the same flow that we have initiated right here. And so we use an API call from the front end, send it to our backend server, and this is kind of where we're going to go into the actual DropChain section. So again, when someone's redirected to your landing page, you're going to grab the session token, and then you're going to make a request to your backend server. And this backend server is mainly ran through this server.js. So I have some comments in here kind of guiding some of this process. Actually, you can just pull on it. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that we're all good here because I had some comments that I probably shouldn't show. Same with like on that PowerPoint, I think it showed my email. Probably want to blur that out. Okay, so then within our backend, we have a server.js that is our main file that is a separate service built to accept API requests from your front end, as well as make DropChain API requests through the SDK to the DropChain infrastructure. And so there's a couple key components to this backend, and this is something that you're probably gonna have to have every time you use this is good practice. You probably should have this. Unless you use, something like Google or AWS Secrets, which is also fair if you're running the requests on some sort of cloud infrastructure. I've created these, like before, .end environment variables. So again, if I wanted to specify the app, or let's just say like the app or API key, I would, within the .m, I would do something like here, and then we would have, you know, whatever. We would specify the API key in text within this environment variable, and then we're accessing it through this process.n. whatever the name of the environment variable is. And I strongly recommend that you do this for every important piece, which is your app ID is good practice, API key for sure, your session token, which is essentially the private key to your test account that you're using to, for one, mint the NFT to this session and to this test account. If we go back here, I mentioned this within the wallet. Right here, let's log in. So first, this is my test user 1 here. So this is the user ID, and I have specified this within the app. I actually don't think, I think user, hold on. Okay. Okay, now I'll go back to this. So your user ID is that unique identifier that is being used when you reference the account or the wallet that's going to be minting the NFT. So in our case, we minted we go back here, this free NFT, the Minnesota blockchain DropChain POAP NFT. We've mentioned that, or we've minted that within our test account 1, or test user 1, and we set that as the DropChain app user ID. So this is like the app wallet that powers everything that your app is going to be using. You can have multiple of these. You can have up to 5 from your 5 test accounts, and for each of those, you also need a session token. So if we go back here, that's like the private key to your user ID. If we go back into here, you can click generate a session token, and for this, you hit refresh. This would populate here, and you'd copy that and put it into your environment variable within the .m section. And so after we've kind of gone through these key pieces that you should keep safe, good. And next, we're going to install the DropChain SDK. So I've already done that, so I won't do it, but I'll show you the function or the command that you can use, which is pretty intuitive: npm install dropchain.sdk. And once you do that, it'll be saved to your backend server. Make sure that you are actually in your backend server when you install this, because the front end won't be making the DropChain API call. So you're in the home directory of your node.js project, you change to the backend one, and then you do something that npm install dropchain.sdk. And yeah, once you have it installed, you're going to import the package with this line, and then you're going to instantiate it with this line. And so you instantiate it, if you can see, by the API key first, and then your app ID. And again, I have set these as environment variables from my environment folder or file. And so my API key is being grabbed from the environment variable, put in here, so there's my app ID. And these are important pieces that are always sent with the request to the DropChain infrastructure. This identifies your app, as well as make sure that you have a correct API key. Keep this API key, keep this API key safe. Same with the session token. The session token is like a key into your test account, or test, you can call it test account, but in this case, it's account that you're using within your app. You need to keep that safe, and if it ever is exposed, you can regenerate it with that front end flow right here. When you hit regenerate, the old session tokens will be removed and deleted, and then the new one will be generated here. If it ever is exposed, do it immediately, because that's like a password that's exposed. Same with your API key. If your API key is ever exposed, make sure that you delete it and then regenerate it. So we can delete that. We'll go through the process here, and it will be removed just like that. And so, like I said, keep those safe. That's really important to recognize. While you're testing, you can probably worry about some of the specifics later, but let's go back to the flow of signing in the first flow of logging in the user that is signed into your app. We can go and find this redeem session token. At the bottom of this, we can check some of the post routes. So these are the routes that are available from your front end to send back to your back end. In this case, we're going to do redeem session token, and we have the redeem session token route. And within this, we have the function that is doing a couple things. First, it is grabbing the session token, the session1 token, from your request.body. So this is the body that is being sent from your front end to your back end. So when I go specifically, we can see session1 token. We grab that session token URL parameter from the top, and then we sent it through this. Now it's getting processed, and we're going to redeem the session token. Once this user has had their session token redeemed, we should get back two fields: the session token that we just passed in, as well as the user ID for the user. And that's their unique account identifier. And so, just like that, we're grabbing from the redeem response the data, which is the response object, and then with the user1 UID, which is the user ID for that user. Now we're going to go to the next section. We're going to actually airdrop them an NFT. So once you've logged them in, we verified that the person who landed on your page has a legitimate, it's a real session token. And then we're now going to take an NFT we have minted to our test account 1, and we're going to send it to the person who has just logged into your app. And so we're going to use the request handle free NFT claim. We have some logic here that if it doesn't work, we'll try to send it a couple more times. But for now, we're sending the claim payload, which includes the user1 UID and the session1 token. And you can tell it matches because it's session1 and user1. We're sending this claim payload to the backend. And we can take a look at what exactly is happening here. So if we go down to the handle free NFT claim route, this is the handle free NFT claim post route, which is the route that the backend server is taking in payloads from the front end. We have two functions here. We first have this validate token middleware, and then the handle free NFT claim route. And so before we process anything to do with a request to send a transaction or to do anything on the DropChain network on the blockchain, we should always validate that the session token is legitimate. And this is just a method to kind of sanity check the request, in addition to once it's already been redeemed by your app, make sure that the token is still valid in the event that something changes or someone's trying to spoof the request. And so this process, the validate token middleware, does a couple things. It first grabs the session1 token in the user ID, and then does a request to validate the session token with those two pieces. You can see the session1 token is included at the beginning, and then the next piece is the user ID. And the validation response is basically saying, is the session token valid? That'll be either a true or a false. If it's false, then we stop the request and we say it's invalid. If it's true, we proceed on to the next section, which is this first section here. And the next piece with the handle free NFT claim route, we're actually going to airdrop the NFT to the end user. We grab the user ID from the request body, and then we're making an asset airdrop. And this is on the DropChain network. So this is an actual NFT that will show up in their wallet. And there's a few components here that it's actually quite intuitive. Asset1 amount integer says how many NFTs or how many tokens are we sending. Because the NFTs have 0 decimals, and what this means is they're indivisible. They can't have like a 0.5 of an NFT. You can only have 1 or 2 or 10 whole numbers of NFTs. We can say 1 here. If you had something like 2 decimals, like $1, and you wanted to send $1, you do this, because this is equivalent to saying I want to send $1 worth of USDC or whatever your coins are. So if you wanted to send 1 unit of your 2 decimal asset, you do this. But this is straightforward. We're only going to send 1 NFT. And when you mint an asset, you have a unique asset ID. This is asset1 ID. And so for here, we've minted the NFT. onto with our test user 1, and we're specifying here the asset ID that is corresponding to this NFT image that we minted onto the blockchain, onto the DropChain network. And so this is unique for everyone. That will never change. Your user 1 user ID is the requesting user. So who is currently using your app right now? That user ID is who we're sending it to. So that's the receiver 1 user ID. And then the next pieces are who's actually sending the transaction, right? So we have the session token for the app user ID, app wallet, and then we have the actual app user ID, which is the wallet that's processing this transaction. And so theoretically, we can test this out, and if there's any errors, it'll return something like invalid session token or an error occurred here. And so really, as a high level, what we just did is we redeemed the session token for someone logging into our app with the redeem session token info. Here's this. We return the session token and the user ID, and then we make a couple requests after this to make sure that the session token and the user ID request is correct, is valid still. It's still a legitimate sign-in. For context, that token will expire after an hour and it will require someone to relog in. And so that basically is saying, hey, either this isn't right for some reason, someone's trying to trick the session token, or the token's expired and they have to relog in the event that almost like a wallet goes, requires you to relog in. Same idea. And then after that, we have heard from before minted an NFT, and then now we're airdropping that NFT from our wallet. That is the app, the blockchain, the backend app is going to send their blockchain asset to the user ID who is signing in. And so now let's test it out, right? We're going to first claim the NFT, click this button. We'll get sent to the single sign-on page for my app. We're going to continue with Google, and I'm actually going to log in with the same account here that my wallet is set up with for this test account, where I really only have one account, right? I only have one NFT in here. So we'll see another NFT appear. We're gonna click the account back in the Google sign-in. We've just been sent with the session token. And right now what this is doing is it's grabbing that session token, redeeming it, and seeing if it's valid. And then if it is valid, we'll get the user ID for the wallet right here. And then we'll get sent the NFT. And so as this is processing, we're doing a lot of stuff. We're airdropping these NFT now to the wallet that I just signed up with. If I don't have a wallet already, it's creating one on the back end. Now the wallet or the NFT should be in my wallet, right? So I can click here, I can click to open and see my wallet. As before, we had none, and now we have the 12/12/23. This was for the Minnesota blockchain holiday event that we attended. We gave out 20 of them. I now have one. So as you can see, if I want to go back here, I can refresh. I can go back to the settings and go to home, and you'll see that it'll update. I have two now, and that's it. It's just that simple. You have created the flow, set up the full flow of minting an NFT, logging in someone into your app, and then airdropping the NFT to that end user, regardless of your technical experience or the end user's technical experience. Anyone who can sign into your app with a Facebook, Google, or Apple login can access your NFTs, participate within your Web3 app, and really join the next evolution of the internet, powered by DropChain, and allowing any developer, regardless of their technical knowledge and smart contract experience, to get started building a blockchain. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and join the Discord below. If you have any questions, I am living in there. My co-founder is living in there. We have other people building all the time. More and more people continue to want to build a blockchain, don't know how to do it. It's this easy. Simply integrate with the software development kit or no code if you're not technical. Like a lot of people, co-founder doesn't know how to build, but he's built really cool stuff too. And we're living in there ready to help you. Thank you so much.